whole family was invited to my sister's $1.2 million wedding, except me. Don't ruin her moment, Mom whispered, like a threat wrapped in pearls. Dad? He chuckled and said, you can't even afford a gift. Stay home. I said nothing, just nodded, smiled even, but my silence? That was a scalpel. My name is Alara Winslow, I'm 30. And if you think you know how this ends, stay tuned. What does it cost to be invisible to the people who raised you? And what do you become once you stop trying to be seen? They rented out an entire vineyard in Napa Valley for my sister Savannah's wedding. White roses imported from Ecuador. A private orchestra flown in from Vienna. Gold-rimmed everything. And not a single chair for me. I watched the live stream from my one-bedroom apartment. Savannah twirled in her $18,000 dress. Dad toasted, the light of our lives. And Mom? She cried the loudest. No one mentioned the other daughter. The daughter who worked 2 jobs through college. The daughter who once wired $900 to Mom when the mortgage fell behind. The daughter who wasn't photogenic enough, obedient enough, convenient enough. I closed my laptop, booked a flight, and got married the next morning. Just me
and James.
On a bridge in Paris. We wore thrifted clothes and vows written on napkins. Our photographer? A street artist with a film camera. 1 photo, 1 kiss. And the Eiffel Tower lit up behind us like it was blessing the betrayal. I posted it to my socials with no caption. No tag. No explanation. By midnight, it had 2.1 million views. By morning, a journalist called. And by noon, Savannah's PR rep emailed. Hi, Alara. We'd like to discuss the narrative you're putting out there. I didn't reply. I just kept scrolling through the comments. Now, this is love. The kind of wedding that makes you cry in the best way. Who is this woman? Just wait. You went viral for 1 photo, and suddenly they remembered you exist. I knew it the second Savannah reposted my wedding picture. With the caption, so proud of my little sister finding love 2 hearts. Little sister? She was 4 months younger.
Technically.
But always treated me like her prop. The comments lit up. Didn't you exclude her from your wedding? Why didn't she get an invite? And then, why does Alara look like the favorite child now? I didn't answer. But Savannah did, by calling me. Alara, hey, she started, soft as butter. I didn't say a word. She kept going. I had no idea you weren't invited. That was all Mom and Dad. I begged them to include you. Her voice cracked. Oscar-worthy. You know how they are, she whispered, as if she hadn't helped design the seating chart. Then came the message from Mom. We're proud of you, sweetheart.
Can we talk?
And then Dad. Let's put the past behind us. Family first. Family first. After they left me off every list, call, and group photo for the last 3 years? After they told distant relatives I was off finding herself in Europe, when I was working 60-hour weeks to survive. My husband James and I sat on our balcony, sipping espresso. He said, do you want to talk to them? I shook my head. Instead, I posted 1 more picture. A Polaroid of our vows. Scrawled in ink. To the ones who show up, not just when it's convenient. No hashtags. No names. Just a message. The next morning, I got a call from a wedding magazine. They wanted to do a feature. And later that night, Savannah showed up uninvited. At our Paris apartment. With mascara smudged down to her cheekbones. And a single line. You have no idea what you've done. When people feel your glow from afar, they start to panic. Savannah stood in the hallway of our Paris apartment, clutching her designer tote like a shield. Her voice cracked. You've made me the villain. On your wedding day. I didn't answer. James stayed in the kitchen. He already knew this wasn't a conversation. It was a performance. You weren't supposed to post that photo, she snapped. Why not? I said, calm. Because it reminded people I exist? Her eyes flared. Do you know how hard I worked to be perfect? Mom and Dad expected it from me. I couldn't let them down. I tilted my head. And I was the price for your perfection? She looked away. Her silence said more than her apology ever could. You're trending, she said bitterly. Bride who skipped her family, international icon. Then, with a smirk, enjoy it while it lasts. Before I could reply, her phone buzzed. She answered, and her face dropped.
She didn't speak.
Just stared, then turned to me, voice tight. They're cutting me off. I blinked.
Who? Mom. Dad.
The business. The house. Everything. They said you made them look bad. Sponsors pulled out. Guests are asking questions. I almost felt sorry. Almost. But I just said, funny. You said I wasn't part of the family. But it seems like now you're not. She stumbled back like I'd hit her, then turned and stormed out, her heels echoing through the hallway like applause. Inside, James poured me champagne.
To silence, he said.
I smiled. But I knew it wasn't over. Because later that night, an email came in. Subject: exclusive interview request. Paris bride who rejected her family. Sender: the morning show. And in the body: we want your side. The world is listening. Fame doesn't heal betrayal, but it exposes it. The morning sun filtered through gauzy curtains as I stared at the interview email. James leaned against the doorway, coffee in hand. Are you really going to go on live TV and tell them everything? I nodded slowly. Not everything. Just enough. I wasn't interested in revenge. I wanted recognition. Not for the likes or shares, but to reclaim the version of myself they buried beneath years of mockery, absence, and silence. I typed, yes, I'll do it. But I'm not here to shame them. I'm here to speak for the daughters who are always the afterthought. Within an hour, my phone rang. A woman's warm voice. Savannah? This is Claire from the morning show. We saw the photo, but your story, it's more than that. It's a movement. I exhaled. It was never about going viral. It was about being forgotten. Silence. Then Claire whispered, I think a lot of women will relate to that. We set the interview for Friday. By Tuesday, the first article dropped. Bride snubbed by own family marries in Paris alone. Except I wasn't alone. I had James. I had truth. And slowly, I was building a new kind of family. One that saw me. But not everyone took it quietly. That night, James walked in holding an envelope. No return address. Inside, a single photo. Me, age 12, crying in the schoolyard. Scribbled across it in red ink. This is who you really are. James's face darkened. They're trying to shake you. But I smiled softly.
No.
They're finally scared. Because when the world starts listening to the quiet one, the loudest liars get exposed. Truth has no curfew. It knocks when it's ready. The morning of the interview, I stood in the studio's green room, watching the screen as the anchor teased. Coming up next, the woman whose solo Paris wedding shattered the internet, and her family. My palms trembled. Not from nerves. From clarity. Claire walked in, head tilted with sympathy. You sure you want to go through with this? It's not too late to just give them silence. I looked at her, calm. They gave me silence for 30 years. I'm just returning the favor, this time with subtitles. On set, lights flared. The host leaned in. Savannah, millions are calling you brave, but your family. They called me bitter. I finished. But bitterness is just grief that's been ignored too long. Then I told them everything. How I was uninvited from my sister's wedding. How they laughed when I cried. How I married the man I love in Paris alone. And how I chose to celebrate my joy even if nobody clapped. Claire's eyes shimmered. Do you regret not inviting them? I paused.
No.
I regret waiting so long to see them for who they were. The interview aired that evening. Within minutes, my inbox overflowed, not with hate, but with gratitude. Strangers wrote, "You gave us the words we never could say." One woman wrote, "My parents missed my wedding too. Now I feel less invisible." But the last message was from an unknown number. "You destroyed this family. We warned you. Now it's our turn." Attached, a photo of my Paris wedding dress burned. James found me staring at the screen, pale. They're unraveling, he said. But I whispered, no, they're finally watching what they created. And I wasn't finished yet. When silence burns, the loudest revenge is light. By morning, the story was everywhere. Headlines spun it into a modern fairy tale drenched in betrayal. Black sheep bride breaks the mold. Alone in Paris, but not broken. $1.2 million wedding, zero sister. Guess who won? I scrolled, numb. It wasn't just going viral. It was a mirror, finally held to their faces. Then came the knock. James opened the door. It was my father. His shoulders hunched, suit disheveled, voice brittle. Savannah, please. Your mother's heart can't take this. I stood still, arms crossed. Her heart or her reputation? He stepped forward. You've humiliated us. Everyone's talking. Do you feel proud? No, I whispered. I feel free. Behind him, my sister appeared. In her perfect beige coat, lips pursed like she still ran the world. You made this mess, she hissed. All for what? Internet likes.
No.
For the truth, I said. She smirked. You're still jealous. You always were. I leaned in slightly, not blinking. Maybe. But I never burned your dress. I never erased your name from the guest list. And I never asked you to lie about me to save face. My father interrupted, desperate now. Enough. Just delete the posts. Take it all down. We'll say it was a misunderstanding. James stepped beside me, firm. She's not deleting anything. My dad's hands trembled. Do you know what this is doing to your mother's circles? Her charity board, her friends. I cut him off. They left me out. For years. All I did was leave, publicly. They left. But before closing the door, I said quietly, oh, and the Paris photos? I sold the rights. Every click feeds my daughter's college fund. I watched their eyes go wide. That's how you protect family. You invest in their future, not their failure. And with that, I shut the door. Not just on them. On decades of quiet swallowing. Forgiveness is a chapter. Closure is the final line. The days that followed were silent. Not the aching kind of silence that comes from being forgotten. No. This was the powerful silence of boundaries finally respected. No texts. No voicemails. Just the distant echo of their shame rippling through mutual contacts. James brought me tea one morning and said softly, do you miss them? I thought about it. I really did. And then I said, no. I just miss who I pretended they were. That weekend, something arrived in the mail. A gold envelope. Thick and scented, like money, had touched it first. It was from my mother. Inside, a letter written in her swirly cursive. Dear Savannah, we regret how things unfolded. Your sister is still healing from the damage, but we hope time will soften things. We think it's best for the family that you step away from public attention. You may be thriving now, but reputation is fragile. Love. Mom and Dad. No apology. No, we're sorry we erased you. Just another warning to stay in line. I didn't respond. Instead, I framed the letter, right beside a photo of my daughter in her Paris flower crown. She asked me that night, why don't we see Grandma and Grandpa? I paused, then knelt beside her. Because sometimes people who are supposed to love you only know how to love themselves. She hugged me tight, and in that moment I knew. The family I wanted didn't vanish. It never existed. But the one I was building with truth, with freedom, with no crown stolen, that one was real. And finally it was enough. Blood is not a bond. Truth is. 3 months later, I stood at a quiet art gallery in Copenhagen. My solo exhibit. Photos of Paris sunlight, childhood shadows, and one centerpiece titled Uninvited. It was the photo James had taken of me outside the chapel. Veil blowing. Eyes soft but unbroken. No crowd. Just peace. A journalist asked, is this about estrangement? I smiled gently. No. It's about clarity. That same evening, as people filtered out and soft jazz played in the background, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. We didn't know you had it in you. Your sister cried for days. Maybe you've made your point. Come home. I looked at it for a long moment. Then I deleted it. No reply. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. Not my worth. Not my kindness. Not my success. The love I gave was real, but now it had a gate. And those who mocked my silence would never be welcomed through it again. When I tucked my daughter into bed that night, she whispered, "Was your wedding lonely?" I ran my fingers through her curls. "No," I said. It was exactly the right people. The ones who showed up, not just to the chapel, but to my life. She smiled, already half asleep. Outside, the moon blinked through a lace of clouds. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel a single pull to look backward. I wasn't the outcast. I wasn't the burden. I wasn't the forgotten daughter. I was the woman who found her freedom by letting them lose access. No revenge. No rage. Just locked doors and a life they'd never be part of.